Let's begin our journey of discovery right now. The Screaming Mummy. In 1935, during an archaeological excavation at the site of Deir el-Bahari, near the ancient capital of Luxor in Egypt, researchers discovered a female mummy with an extraordinary facial expression, one that would haunt both the scientific community and the public for decades to come. This mummy was found inside a wooden coffin, placed beneath the tomb of Senmut, the renowned architect who served under Queen Hatshepsut. Yet, the greatest source of controversy lay in the mummy's face. Her mouth was gaping wide open, her jaw seemingly frozen in a scream at the very last moment of life. From the moment it was announced, the mummy immediately drew the attention of numerous experts and became a hotly debated subject in the field of Egyptology. Many theories have been proposed to explain why the mummy's face bore such an extreme and unsettling expression. Some suggested it was simply a common physical phenomenon occurring after death, or perhaps the result of opening the coffin and moving the remains, which caused the mouth to spring open. Yet, the fierce, pain-stricken look on her face has continued to raise unresolved questions that no explanation has been able to fully address. Recently, with the help of modern CT scanning technology and advanced chemical analysis, a team of specialists led by Cairo University conducted a comprehensive study of the mummy. Their findings revealed that the woman was about 48 years old at the time of her death, of average height, and had suffered from spinal issues. Notably, her body had not been fully embalmed according to the standards of the noble class. During the New Kingdom period, her internal organs remained intact inside her body rather than being removed and treated separately. Typically, cases of incomplete mummification are linked to limited economic means. However, this woman possessed valuable jewelry, including scarab-shaped rings made of silver and gold, as well as traces of expensive aromatic compounds on her hair and a wig woven from palm fibers, items reserved for the wealthy elite. This unusual combination led scientists to conclude that the cause of death may have involved a violent pain or a severe psychological shock just before she died, resulting in the jaw locking at its maximum extension. It was this state of extreme agony that prevented her mouth from closing even after death and throughout the embalming process. It is possible that the embalmers themselves were unsettled by her condition, choosing only to perform basic cleaning and apply perfumes, while avoiding the more elaborate procedures reserved for royal mummies. The story of the Screaming Mummy not only represents a unique case in the forensic medical history of ancient Egypt, but also reveals a glimpse into the social tensions between class status, burial rites, and the many unsolved mysteries surrounding life and death in antiquity. Behind the eternal scream frozen on the mummy's face lies an open question about the true nature of death, biological phenomena, and the limits of our modern understanding of the past. The mystery of Friday, the 13th, and the origins of the fear of the number 13. The obsession with the number 13 and Friday the 13th is not merely a folk belief, but the result of centuries of accumulated historical events and ideologies. Throughout human history, the number 12 has often been regarded as a symbol of completeness. 12 months in a year, 12 zodiac signs, 12 gods atop Olympus, 12 apostles of Christ. For this reason, the appearance of the number 13 is seen as a disruption of order, a sign of instability, even an omen of misfortune. The Code of Hammurabi, one of humanity's oldest written law codes, is believed to have intentionally skipped Article 13, leaving an unsettling gap in its list of statutes, although this may simply be an accident of ancient numbering systems. Nevertheless, the fear of the number 13 is not limited to symbolism. It was also reinforced by one of the most shocking events of the medieval era, the mass arrest of the Knights Templar on Friday, the 13th of October, 1307. This order, issued by King Philip IV of France with the approval of Pope Clement V, aimed to dismantle one of the most powerful military religious organizations in Europe at the time. Hundreds of Templar Knights were accused of heresy, tortured, executed, or left to die in prison. From that point forward, Friday the 13th gradually became a symbol of bad luck, injustice, and unsolved historical mysteries. The impact of these events has persisted not only in historical records, but also deep within the collective psyche, turning Friday the 13th into a global phenomenon. In Western culture, this obsession can be seen in every aspect of life. From architecture, where many buildings lack a 13th floor, to art, film, and literature, where Friday the 13th is consistently associated with misfortune and unpredictable peril. This fear reflects a chain of collective memories in which history and spirituality are intertwined, and a number that should be ordinary wields the power to influence the behavior and psychology of society over many centuries. Looking back through history, it is clear that the roots of the fear of the number 13 are a complex mixture of religious symbolism, ancient legends, bloody events, and social psychology. The Templar affair not only made Friday the 13th a dark day in the Western memory, but also serves as a prime example of how historical memories can evolve into cultural beliefs that continue to haunt humanity to this very day. Kuru disease and the practice of cannibalism in Papua New Guinea. In the highlands of Papua New Guinea, the four people lived in near-complete isolation from the outside world for thousands of years, up until the 20th century. This isolation not only preserved their primitive customs, but also maintained one of the oldest and most controversial rituals, the practice of cannibalism. In the belief system of the Four, when a member of the tribe died, their body was consumed by family members as an act of mourning and communal bonding. This ritual was rooted in the notion that, for the soul of the deceased to find peace, their remains should not be left to insects or wild animals, but rather cared for one final time by their loved ones. In the 1950s, survey teams and scientists from Australia and the West first set foot in 4 villages and recorded a reality that shocked the global medical community. Each year, hundreds of people, mainly women and children, were struck by a mysterious disease that had never been observed anywhere else in the world. The illness caused sufferers to tremble uncontrollably, gradually lose motor coordination, experience difficulty walking, emotional disturbances, and eventually a loss of consciousness, leading to death within a year of the onset of symptoms. The Four called this disease Kuru, meaning to shake in their native language. The search for the cause of this disease lasted many years and fundamentally changed the scientific understanding of infectious diseases. At first, researchers considered environmental toxins, poisoning, or genetic disorders. However, fieldwork revealed that the disease was not transmitted along bloodlines, but appeared among specific social groups, mainly women and children who directly participated in consuming human brain tissue during funeral rites. Subsequent tests confirmed that the cause was not bacteria, viruses, or parasites, but a unique kind of protein with no genetic material called a prion. This abnormal protein, once it enters the nervous system, transforms normal proteins into a diseased state, creating tiny holes in the brain tissue like a sponge and resulting in irreversible neurological symptoms. Identifying the prion as the cause explained why only those who ate the brains of the dead contracted the disease, and ultimately brought an end to the cannibalistic ritual of the Four tribe. This discovery not only made a crucial contribution to modern medicine, but also revealed a dark chapter in human history, where ancient traditions could become the source of biological catastrophe. Behind every case of Kuru is a story about the thin boundary between cultural ritual and medical danger, a testament to the diversity and complexity of ancient communities on this planet. Sacred gates and mysterious megalithic ruins in Japan. The Oya History Museum in Utsunomiya City stands as a prime example of the mysterious megalithic structures found in Japan. Beneath the ground here lies a system of man-made caves with towering vaulted ceilings, so spacious that visitors can imagine a herd of elephants passing through with ease. According to widely available records, most of these caves were formed during the extraction of Oya stone, a special volcanic rock from the Kanto region starting in the Edo period. However, when researchers surveyed the overall terrain and the markings left on the cliffs, many noted that the scale of excavation in Utsunomiya far exceeded the typical needs of local construction. The cave system is logically organized, with solid stone pillars, passageways, and ventilation, all suggesting careful planning in engineering and safety. Surrounding mountain ranges also show signs of deep mining, with some areas appearing almost hollowed out from within. These consistent traces of stoneworking point to the existence of a large-scale, well-organized labor system beyond what could have been achieved by small groups of craftsmen. The absence of detailed historical records regarding these extraction activities only deepens the mystery. Some theories propose that this area was once an industrial center in ancient times, featuring technologies and tools ahead of their era. There are even those who compare the stone caves in Japan to the renowned megalithic sites on other continents, raising questions about the possibility of technological exchange between ancient civilizations. The sacred gates and extensive stone cave systems in the Oya region, along with the evidence of quarrying in the landscape, remain unsolved mysteries for modern archaeology. Each new discovery in this area not only broadens our understanding of ancient social organization, but also raises new questions about the technical capabilities and historical development of early Japanese communities. Tiki statues and alien theories in the Marquesas Islands. Nestled in the heart of the Pacific Ocean, the Marquesas Islands appear as a world apart, where sheer mountain cliffs rise from the sea and dense rainforests blanket deep valleys. On the island of Nukuhiva, stone tiki statues stand along the mountain slopes, by streams, or hidden within pristine forests. What sets these tiki statues apart is that their faces do not bear the typical features of ancient Polynesians, but instead evoke the image of beings from another world. Large, bulging eyes protruding from their sockets, wide mouths with thick lips, and details that suggest unfamiliar biological structures rather than human forms. These statues are not just artistic relics, but are also intimately tied to local mythology. The people of the Marquesas recount that their ancestor was Tiki, the first god, sculpted from earth by supreme beings who bore divine blood and became the first to set foot upon the land. The legend of Tiki meeting Marikoriko, the first woman who appeared beside a lake, forming the primordial couple of humankind, seems to echo the story of Adam and Eve in Western mythology. Both cultures include the detail that humans were created from clay, with the involvement of gods or supernatural entities. When considering the origins and meaning of the Tiki statues, numerous researchers and proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis have posed the question, could it be that ancient civilizations once had contact with, or were influenced by, beings from beyond Earth? The non-human features of the Tiki statues, the strange parallels between creation myths in cultures separated by vast distances, all seem to point toward the possibility that ancient people may have witnessed or remembered encounters with entities not of this world. For some anthropologists, Tiki statues are not merely products of indigenous art, but could be petrified memories of what ancient people once experienced or imagined in the earliest days of civilization. Thus, amid the wild forests and mountains of the Marquesas, each Tiki statue stands as a profound question about history, science, and the human imagination, opening an endless debate about humanity's relationship with a vast universe that still lies beyond the reach of traditional understanding. The fingerbone of Saint Nicholas. In the ancient archives of Battle Abbey in England, a recently discovered relic inventory has drawn special attention from the historical community. This list meticulously records each sacred object preserved at the abbey throughout the Middle Ages, from fragments of the Bethlehem manger to relics of early Christian martyrs. However, the most surprising entry is the account of a fingerbone belonging to St. Nicholas, the Bishop of Myra in Asia Minor, who would later become the historical inspiration for Santa Claus, a symbol of kindness and the spirit of the Western Christmas season. The fact that Battle Abbey possessed a relic directly linked to St. Nicholas not only demonstrates the far-reaching influence of his legend in medieval Christian communities, but also reflects the complex process of how religious traditions blended with folk beliefs across European society at the time. Since the 4th century, the relics of saints had become widely collected and venerated throughout the kingdoms of Europe, with the belief that these objects brought blessings, miracles, and even protection for entire communities. In practice, many abbeys and churches held elaborate ceremonies to process and display relics, treating them as powerful means to strengthen the faith of parishioners and enhance the prestige of religious institutions. In this context, the fingerbone of St. Nicholas became a relic of special symbolic value, helping shape the image of Santa Claus in the Western imagination, even though it began as a small artifact within the collection at Battle Abbey. The stories passed down about this saint, who was known for helping children and giving gifts to the poor, gradually blended into winter festivals, ultimately creating the distinctive character of the modern Christmas holiday. Yet, the fate of these relics over the centuries remains a mystery. The religious reforms under Henry VIII led to the destruction of countless monasteries, with treasures confiscated or lost. Sacred objects, once at the center of faith and religious power, now survive only in records or are scattered across Europe. Many researchers question the authenticity of such relics due to a long history of trade, forgery, and loss across generations of owners. Nevertheless, the fingerbone of St. Nicholas at Battle Abbey remains one of the unique pieces illuminating the formation of the Santa Claus legend, a symbol that merges history, belief, and Western popular culture. Ancient Birdman. In the Novosibirsk region of Siberia, an archaeological discovery has shed new light on the spiritual and social world of humanity's early days in this region. During excavations at the Ishtarta site, scientists uncovered an ancient burial unlike any previously found in West Siberian archaeology. a headpiece and garments fashioned from bird skulls and beaks, sewn together into a complete ceremonial outfit. Analysis of the site suggests that this object was likely part of ritual attire, used by a shaman or leader in the ceremonies of an ancient community. The combination of a human skull and around 50 bird beaks, mostly from cranes and storks, shows a process of collection and craftsmanship that must have taken a long time, reflecting the vital role of such regalia in spiritual life. Additionally, the use of feathers and bird beaks in indigenous cultures has often served as a means of connecting the human world with the supernatural. The Birdman costume may have symbolized the ability to communicate with ancestral spirits, gods, or even the power to transform and guide souls during transitional rites such as funerals or healing rituals. This discovery also affirms the important place of shamans in ancient Siberian society, not only as keepers of folk medical knowledge, but as key figures in community ceremonies, guiding beliefs and fostering unity through symbolic systems and complex rituals. The unique burial arrangement and the considerable investment in creating the costume reflect the high social status of the individual interred. Beside the shaman's grave, the burial site contained other mysterious finds, such as the overlapping remains of children and adults, hints of rituals or beliefs connected to the life cycle, death, and rebirth in ancient Siberian society. While the exact relationships between those buried together remain unclear, the material evidence collected has provided a clearer picture of social structure, ceremonial organization, and worldview among early native communities. The discovery of the Birdman shaman not only adds to our knowledge of ancient Siberian spiritual practices, but also opens new interdisciplinary avenues between archaeology, anthropology, and the study of primal religions, helping to clarify the emergence and development of shamanic rites in human history. The Great Inca Earthquake. Around the year 1450, a major earthquake struck the Machu Picchu area, marking a pivotal turning point in Inca architectural engineering. Archaeological research and modern architectural analysis have revealed that the effects of this seismic event are still etched onto ancient structures, especially in stones that bear cracks and deformations in places such as the Temple of the Sun. The earthquake not only caused severe physical damage, but also spurred a transformation in Inca construction methods. Immediately after the event, traditional building techniques were notably adjusted. Structures were reinforced with massive stones at the lower levels to create a solid foundation, while the upper layers were built using smaller, lighter stones, thus reducing overall weight and dispersing seismic force during tremors. Walls were also designed to incline slightly inward, increasing stability and allowing buildings to flex with ground movement. This marked a crucial advance that lifted Inca architecture to new heights, giving it an earthquake resistance that still inspires modern builders. Geological and archaeological evidence shows that the Incas' earthquake-proof techniques did not appear from the start, but were the direct result of hard-earned experience with natural disasters. The fact that Inca architects recognized and applied physical principles in construction is proof of this civilization's remarkable adaptability. At the same time, one wonders why such advanced techniques weren't used from the beginning. Did the Incas lack prior earthquake data? Or was the disaster of 1450 the decisive catalyst for their radical change in approach? The achievements of Machu Picchu's architecture after the earthquake reveal the intimate relationship between nature and technological progress. The earthquake was not just a catastrophe, but a force that drove innovation, enabling the Incas to surpass the limits of traditional technique. The result was a legacy of enduring, resilient structures, a distinctive hallmark of Andean civilization in world history. The medieval grass circles legend. Records from the late 17th century about the phenomenon of the mowing devil have become some of the earliest accounts of mysterious patterns appearing on English fields. A pamphlet published in 1678 tells the story of a farmer who discovered his oat field had been cut into such precise shapes that he believed only the devil or supernatural forces could have been responsible. The story describes bundles of grain pressed tightly to the ground in perfectly even layers, completely unlike the traces left by ordinary manual labor. In fact, several witnesses of the time claim to have seen strange lights over the field on the night of the event. This phenomenon quickly became the subject of debate not only among rural folk, but also among scholars interested in the links between ancient beliefs and unexplained events. The mowing devil legend became the inspiration for many theories about the activity of demons or even interference by extraterrestrial beings in human affairs. However, it wasn't until the 20th century, when strange circles began appearing repeatedly in fields across England and other countries, that crop circles truly became the focus of scientific inquiry. These patterns are often complex and appear overnight, giving rise to theories about natural energy, large-scale hoaxes, as well as the possible role of unusual atmospheric or magnetic phenomena. Even though modern technology has shown that many crop circles are human-made, questions remain about the origins of mowing devil-like events in history. When researchers survey old records, they consistently find surprise, fear, and a tendency to explain the unknown in supernatural terms. The issue is not merely one of authenticity, but also of how people in different eras understood and explained the world around them. From medieval fears of the devil to today's fascination with alien intelligence, mysterious circles in the fields remain a living testament to humanity's yearning to explore the unknown and the limits of scientific understanding in every age. Glorious Roman armor. In Satala, Turkey, an archaeological excavation has yielded an exceptional artifact for the study of European military history. An almost perfectly preserved Roman squamata fish-scale armor dating back some 2,000 years. This type of armor, made of hundreds of small metal scales, pierced, layered, and joined by cords or rivets, offered flexible protection while allowing soldiers to move easily on the battlefield. The discovery, excavation, and restoration process for this armor took years, blending advanced modern techniques with meticulous traditional craftsmanship. Restorers used X-ray imaging and CT scanning to locate and analyze each scale, then carefully cleaned and reassembled them to restore the armor to its original form. Historical records show that squamata was not intended for common soldiers, but was the standard equipment for high-ranking officers, unit commanders, or special forces. According to metallurgical analysis and production methods, this suit of armor likely dates to the late Roman Empire, when the military system faced major challenges both inside and outside its borders. Its discovery at Satala, a strategic fortress on Rome's eastern defensive line, further supports the theory that it belonged to elite legions during the empire's twilight years. The near-intact preservation of this squamata provides rare first-hand material for deeper research into ancient Roman metallurgy and metalworking. Microscopic analysis of the surface reveals sophisticated material handling, cutting, shaping, and assembly skills, all reflecting the progress of Roman arms technology as it adapted to increasingly complex warfare. Beyond its physical value, the armor stands as vivid evidence of military leadership, army organization, and the discipline that made Rome's legions so powerful across the ancient world. Moreover, the discovery at Satala opens many avenues for interdisciplinary study, exploring the links between military technology, shifting politics and society in Rome's final decades, and cultural exchanges between the eastern frontiers and the empire's core. The artifact also raises questions about the spread and adaptation of military technology between Rome and neighboring civilizations, especially in comparison with Eastern or Asian armors of the same era. The successful restoration and display of this squamata not only brings to life the image of the Roman legionnaire, but also deepens our understanding of a civilization that changed world history. The combination of modern conservation, science, and interdisciplinary research has helped preserve this legacy, paving the way for new discoveries in archaeology, military history, and ancient metallurgy. The mystery of the pyramid, Cono de Arita, in Argentina. Standing in isolation in the arid Sala de Arizaro of northwestern Argentina, Cono de Arita rises like a colossal spire in the middle of the salt flats, towering over 120 meters high with a nearly perfect three-sided pyramid shape. Over thousands of years, this mountain has become the subject of endless debate among geologists and archaeologists concerning its true origin, whether it is an entirely natural formation or a relic of some lost, mysterious civilization on the Altiplano Plateau. Scientists generally agree that Cono de Arita was formed through geological processes when magma rose from deep within the earth and, after millennia of erosion, left behind a structure with a remarkably regular triangular shape. From a scientific perspective, there is no clear evidence that the site was ever altered or built by humans. Yet, theories about an artificial origin remain widespread due to its highly unusual form and geographic location, a region where pre-Inca archaeological sites once dotted the Andes, only to be wiped away over time by thick layers of salt and fierce storms. Locally, Cono de Arita holds a special sacred meaning. For hundreds of years, indigenous groups have held ceremonies dedicated to the mountain's summit, seeing it as a spiritual landmark connecting heaven and earth. Archaeological studies have revealed fragments of pottery, remnants of ceremonial fires, and traces of habitation around its base signs that this place once served as a center for rituals or communal gatherings. However, most of this material evidence has been erased by the region's harsh natural conditions, leaving the origins of this salt pyramid an ongoing mystery. The existence of Cono de Arita revives profound questions about the relationship between people and nature in the remote lands of South America. Is this truly a coincidence of geology, a natural wonder shaped like a pyramid, or a vestige of a culture that vanished long before the Inca era? To this day, none of the prevailing theories have been definitively proven, leaving Cono de Arita as one of Argentina's greatest archaeological enigmas. Terracotta gods. Beneath the ancient city of Miletus in Turkey, archaeologists have excavated the area under a Roman theater dating back more than 2,000 years. Their investigations led to the discovery of a remarkable collection of over 50 terracotta statues, many still bearing traces of their original colors on the surface. This rare evidence shows that ancient sculpture was not only focused on form, but also invested significant effort into color, much of which usually fades with time. These terracotta statues display a diversity of themes and functions. Some depict gods from Greco-Roman mythology, such as Apollo and Hercules, while others represent heroes, knights, warriors, ordinary citizens, and animals. Certain figures are vividly rendered, showing movement or detailed clothing, reflecting the artistic skill and aesthetic tastes of the era. Traces of blue, red, and yellow pigments allow researchers to partially reconstruct the statue's original appearance, broadening our understanding of the visual culture of ancient Anatolian communities. In terms of function, material evidence and excavation context indicates that terracotta statues served varied roles in social and religious life. Some small figurines of gods or mythical beings were likely used in religious rituals, placed on family altars or in temples to seek peace, protection, or as expressions of devotion. Meanwhile, many statues with familiar forms, simple expressions, or playful motifs hint at use as toys or decorative items in the daily lives of children and families. The discovery and restoration of these terracotta figures has added new layers of information about craftsmanship, the development of ceramics, the use of natural mineral pigments, and the blending of Greek, Roman, and indigenous cultural elements in ancient Anatolia. This colorful collection from beneath the Roman theater offers invaluable material for archaeology and art history, while also providing a multifaceted perspective on the daily life, beliefs, and aesthetics of the ancient peoples of Asia Minor. The trial of insects in medieval Europe. In the 16th century, in the Alpine regions of France, a curious event took place when local villagers decided to put a tiny insect, the weevil, on trial in court for damaging vineyards and threatening their livelihoods. This legal case was not merely a spontaneous reaction by farmers to crop loss, but reflected the deeply medieval blend of legal reasoning and religious belief, at a time when the boundaries between the natural world and social order remained unclear. Within this context, the weevils were summoned to court with full legal procedure. A defense lawyer represented the insects, the plaintiffs were vineyard owners and community members, and a judge presided as arbiter. The case included public debates about responsibility, the legal personhood of the pests, and humanity's authority over nature. After many sessions without a practical solution, the court imposed no punishment, instead ordering a series of religious ceremonies, collective prayers, offerings, and rituals to banish the insects, reflecting the deep faith in ritual and divine intervention as means of confronting natural crises. While it is impossible to determine the practical effect of such verdicts on the insect population, trials of this kind were held across medieval Europe for everything from beetles eating crops to rats infesting grain stores. These cases exemplify the worldview of early European agrarian societies, where every natural phenomenon could hold supernatural significance, and law and religion merged to sustain order and hope within the community. Historically, these trials are more than anecdotes. They serve as documentary evidence for the complex relationship between humans and nature, and for the limitations of legal understanding before the scientific age. Human and animal live burials in Shang Dynasty tombs. Archaeological discoveries at the Yingsu site in Anyang, China, have shed light on one of the boldest funerary rituals in human history: the live burial of people and animals alongside the tomb owner during the Shang Dynasty. In recently excavated burial chambers, researchers found the remains of many armored warriors, horses, chariots, and precious artifacts, all interred simultaneously with their noble master. This phenomenon demonstrates not only the large-scale tomb construction techniques and the wealth of the ruling class, but also reveals the concept of power and worldview of the Shang people. The tomb owners were usually kings, nobles, or high-ranking military commanders, possessing not only material assets and land, but also the right to decide the fate of their closest servants even after death. Retainers, warriors, horses, and chariots were selected as sacrificial companions, buried alive with their master to ensure that his power and status would be maintained in the afterlife. Each tomb represents a complex ceremonial space, combining religious elements, beliefs about the soul, and ideas about the continuity of power. Warriors were interred with armor and weapons, horses were lavishly decorated, and chariots were placed in positions of honor. Live burial was not just an act of reverence, but also a stark reflection of the strict social order, the master at the center, surrounded by a circle of absolute subordinates. Through layers of earth, the evidence of a society built on absolute power slowly emerges. Far from being just a testament to advanced social and religious organization, these tombs are a reminder of the value of human life. In ancient societies where a person's existence could become part of a legacy of power and the glorification of individual status, these relics continue to inspire archaeologists and historians to investigate the mechanisms, social rules, and mentality of authority that once governed this ancient civilization on the Yellow River. UFOs in ancient Egypt. When exploring the mysterious phenomena of ancient Egyptian history, one cannot overlook the Papyrus Thule, a document discovered in the 1930s by Alberto Thule, the director of Egyptology at the Vatican Museum. This text dates to the peak of Thutmose III's reign, a pharaoh hailed as the Napoleon of ancient Egypt for his military conquests and the development of a sophisticated administrative system. This was an era when Egypt ruled over vast territories, built grand monuments, developed the arts, and left behind many material traces that still endure today. The papyrus, dated to around 1480 BCE, records a strange event that occurred in the skies above the Nile Valley. In the text, royal court officials and scholars from the House of Life are said to have personally witnessed a phenomenon never before seen. They described a circle of fire appearing in the sky, headless, emitting a stream of foul-smelling air, and moving toward the pharaoh's palace. This event did not end in a single moment. According to the translation, the fiery discs continued to appear for days, growing in number and shining more brightly than the sun, stretching from one horizon to the other. Not only the officials, but the entire royal army and even the king himself are said to have witnessed this spectacle. At its climax, on one evening, the discs soared high into the sky, and from above, a rain of fish fell to the ground. The social context and mindset of the Egyptians at that time meant that the event was not interpreted as an ill omen or an immediate threat. Pharaoh and his court simply pondered and recorded everything that happened, without rushing to conclusions. For modern researchers, the Papyrus Thule is an especially controversial document because it contains descriptions of unidentified flying objects, what we now call UFOs, reported in antiquity and recorded in contemporary texts rather than mere legend or speculation. While the authenticity of the translation remains debated, the contents form the foundation for theories suggesting that ancient civilizations might have encountered, or at least witnessed, the presence of extraterrestrial beings or technology. With its concrete details, shape, smell, scale, and impact on the environment, the Papyrus Thule event not only opens up debate about possible alien contact, but also demonstrates the remarkable observational and recording abilities of ancient Egyptian scholars. Was this merely a natural phenomenon that science has yet to explain, or a record of humanity's first encounter with an intelligence beyond Earth? The answer remains unknown, and the Papyrus Thule itself continues to symbolize the enduring allure of unexplained mysteries in human history. Convict artifacts. Archaeological excavations at the Rocks in Sydney have brought to light a little-known chapter in the formation of modern Australia. Beneath the foundation of a tourist hostel, researchers uncovered the remains of dozens of houses and shops once home to English convicts and ex-convicts from the late 18th century through the latter half of the 19th century. These foundations stand as witnesses to the early days when the British Empire transformed Australia into a penal colony, banishing over 170,000 convicts to this remote land to build a new society from nothing. Archaeological findings reveal the formation of the first settlements, where every stone and fragment of wall tells the story of a community struggling under oppression and harsh, meager conditions. Alongside the house foundations, researchers found personal belongings, evidence of small workshops, and signs of local commerce. The Rocks, more than just a place of confinement, gradually became a hub of trade, where people of all backgrounds blended together to lay the groundwork for a new society, shaping the unique cultural identity that would come to define Australia. These relics serve as authentic historical witnesses to the formation of Australian national identity, a society born from prisoners, exiled labourers, and the administrative machinery of the British Empire. From the surviving evidence, one can see the dramatic social transformation as people stripped of freedom contributed to the material, architectural, and cultural foundations of modern Australia. Researching and preserving these sites not only reconstructs a turbulent era, but also affirms the pivotal role that convicts played in the country's development. Caesar's assassination gold. At the end of the 1st century BC, the assassination of Julius Caesar became one of the defining moments in the history of ancient Rome. To commemorate and justify their actions, Marcus Junius Brutus, the leader of the plot, had a famous gold coin minted, bearing the inscription, Ides of March. This was not only physical evidence of a political upheaval, but also one of the rarest and most valuable ancient coins ever known to humanity. The coin was struck immediately after the events of the 15th of March, 44 BC, with symbolic imagery and distinctive markings. On the obverse was the resolute portrait of Brutus himself. On the reverse, 2 daggers and a liberty cap, a clear symbol of the overthrow of tyranny. This small object carried a powerful political message. Brutus issued it as a declaration of liberty after Caesar's death and as a warning to anyone who might dream of absolute power in Rome. For over 2 millennia, the Ides of March coin has been an object of priceless value for collectors and a key artifact for historians. Its journey has been long and complex, passing from Roman nobles to Renaissance collectors and onto major museums worldwide. Most recently, it was displayed at the British Museum before surfacing at major auctions in Switzerland, where its value has reached into the millions of dollars. Every appearance sparks intense interest among historians and investors alike. Beyond its material worth, the gold coin commemorating Caesar's assassination remains a vivid symbol of the chaos at the end of the Roman Republic, a time when power struggles, betrayal, and the ideal of liberty were inextricably linked. The study and preservation of artifacts like this give future generations a deeper understanding of the psychology, thought, and political artistry of the ancient Romans, while also serving as a cautionary reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition throughout human history. The ancient city of Cambay. Beneath the murky waters of the Gulf of Cambay, the first signals of a submerged city emerged as a scientific accident. A team from the National Institute of Ocean Technology of India, initially there to survey pollution levels, caught a series of strange images on sonar. On the screen, the seafloor revealed rows of regular geometric shapes stretching for miles, interspersed with large blocks and intersecting lines at right angles. Such patterns could not be the result of nature alone. Surprise quickly turned to a full archaeological campaign. Divers and robots retrieved samples. Shards of pottery with ancient patterns, worked stones with holes drilled through them, charred bones, and numerous objects that appeared to belong to a lost community more than 9,000 years old. Radiocarbon dating confirmed the extraordinary antiquity of these finds. Many artifacts were at least 9,500 years old, meaning the city in the Gulf of Cambay was already established long before ancient Egypt or even Harappa. Sediment analysis showed that this place was once dry land, suddenly flooded by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. Drastic climate change erased this urban center, burying all evidence of its people under more than 30 meters of seawater. Architectural analysis points to a level of social organization rivaling any known ancient civilization. Rows of houses, foundations, public works, and perhaps even religious sites, all lying silent on the ocean floor. Square stone blocks, causeways hundreds of meters long, and traces of ancient fire all suggest a crowded, cohesive society, already capable of cooperative urban construction at the dawn of human history. This is not merely an archaeological discovery, but a revelation that could upend our entire understanding of civilization's development in South Asia. If Cambay truly existed, the models for the evolution of society and the rise of the earliest states must be rewritten. This civilization was not isolated, but may have traded and communicated with other coastal communities across the ancient Indian Ocean. Artifacts such as polished stone tools, pottery, and bead jewelry make it clear. This culture achieved a high level of craftsmanship, artistry, and social organization far beyond what was previously assumed for its time. Yet behind each new find are more unanswered questions. How long did this city exist before it was lost to the sea? Who built these robust structures beneath the waves? And how did they face the disaster as the ice melted and the water rose to claim everything? Archaeologists are certain of only one thing. every achievement can be swept away by nature's shifting forces. Cambay stands as living proof of the creativity, adaptability, and fragility of ancient civilizations, opening an entirely new chapter for the history of humanity. And somewhere beneath the cold mud, there may yet be hundreds of mysteries waiting for future generations to uncover. The crocodile cave dwellers of India. Recent archaeological studies in Andhra Pradesh have revealed a system of ancient caves dating back nearly 7,000 years, evidence of a prehistoric community that once thrived and left deep marks in the region. The site consists of 5 main caves, 2 with clear signs of artificial modification by Stone Age people, and 3 naturally formed. The choice of massive rocks, carved deep into the hills for shelter, rituals, or storage, shows that these early inhabitants had already mastered the organization of space and the use of stone tools, not just for survival, but for the creation of enduring material culture. What sets these caves apart is the large number of crocodile engravings and paintings found on the cave walls. Alongside simpler motifs and human figures, the crocodile is depicted in many sizes, some reaching several meters, almost life-size for the species of that era. The prominence of the crocodile motif, far outnumbering any other theme, has led to theories about the animal's symbolic importance in the spiritual and cultural life of these people. The crocodile may have been revered as a powerful totem, a symbol of strength and community protection, or even an object of worship in ceremonies for the changing seasons, fertility, or hunting success. Another notable aspect is the use of red pigment, ochre, to depict the crocodiles, a material common to cave art around the world, from Africa to Europe. Red not only symbolized life and energy, but was also used in rituals, often signifying reverence for gods or guardian spirits. Curiously, there are now no crocodiles in the area, and even water is scarce, hinting at dramatic environmental changes over thousands of years. This suggests that when these paintings were made, the climate and landscape were likely very different, with rivers and lakes providing a rich habitat for crocodiles. As the environment changed, communities adapted, migrated, or disappeared, leaving behind a heritage from an age when humans and crocodiles were closely intertwined. These ancient artworks stand as a reflection of the link between climate change, the evolution of culture, and prehistoric art. Findings about the cave-building techniques, spatial organization, visual art, and spiritual symbolism in the crocodile cave system of Andhra Pradesh expand our understanding of cultural diversity, perceptions of the natural world, and humanity's ability to adapt to constant climate change. These traces also illuminate a forgotten chapter in the history of the Indian subcontinent, playing a crucial role in preserving and studying the world's ancient cultures. Warships, cargo vessels, and missing aircraft. Beneath the deep sea and on the ancient beds of old lakes, the remains of warships, cargo vessels, and other vehicles, once symbols of technical prowess and humankind's ambition to conquer the oceans, still lie intact, shrouded by layers of sediment and marine life. The discovery of the Musashi battleship wreck off the coast of the Philippines not only marked the end of an era for Japan's largest armored warships, but also opened up new opportunities to study naval engineering, crew organization, and the strategies of defense and confrontation among world powers during World War II. The traces of destruction left by bombs and shells on the ship's hull, the armor plate still clinging to steel, and the remnants of large artillery all allow for a detailed analysis of the ship's construction, tactics, firepower, and the extent of damage suffered in major naval battles. The cases of HMS Gloucester, Mary Rose, Newport ship, and Sagang, discovered at the bottom of European seas, each represent a period of technological development in English and European seafaring before the Industrial Age. These vessels stand as evidence of wooden shipbuilding technology, the craftsmanship of planking and framing, the techniques for using ropes and anchors, and the ways in which cargo, provisions, and weapons were stored for voyages that lasted across many oceans. Notably, Mary Rose and the Newport ship provide valuable insight into commercial transportation, the maintenance and preservation of vessels in harsh environments, as well as the physical and chemical processes affecting shipwrecks over the centuries. Alongside these European relics are discoveries like the Zan-Bra ship in the Mediterranean, where wooden planks were joined by hand, each piece sewn together with natural fibers to create a unique seafaring craft from the Bronze Age. The preservation of original shape, structure, and materials enables direct research into shipbuilding methods, the sources of timber, and the characteristic design styles of ancient coastal dwellers. Furthermore, the artifacts found on board provide clues to daily habits, religious beliefs, labor organization, and patterns of coastal trade in prehistoric times. Missing aircraft, from German fighters in the English Channel to American training planes in the Sierra Nevada, illustrate the shift from maritime engineering to modern military aviation. Aircraft wrecks, reconstructed from fragments beneath ice or sediment, allow researchers to piece together production processes, material structures, cockpit organization, engines, and flight equipment, while also documenting the roles of climate, weather, and war in causing accidents that left these machines buried for decades. All these discoveries are not just historical evidence, they are direct material records of technological progress, transportation systems, international power dynamics, and the evolution of shipbuilding and aircraft manufacturing across different eras. The preservation and study of warship, cargo ship, ancient boat, and missing aircraft wrecks make it possible to reconstruct historical events, revive collective memories of naval battles, voyages, migrations, and the never-ending human quest to explore the oceans. These artifacts have also become symbols of national heritage, serving as lasting reminders for future generations of the glory, tragedy, and hard-earned lessons from the long journey to conquer the seas and the skies. Blood-sucking exorcism, amulets in Mesopotamia. Lead scroll amulets discovered in southern Iraq and Iran are rare artifacts that offer direct evidence of ancient Mesopotamian beliefs about protection against evil. On the surface of the amulet, 62 lines are inscribed in the Mandaic language, invoking supernatural powers, especially the angel Gabriel, to shield the wearer from malevolent spirits known for sucking blood and devouring humans. The text not only mentions the name of the person to be protected, but also describes in detail the metaphysical threats believed by the community to be real, including the blood-sucking demon, a prototype reminiscent of the later vampire legends. The amulet was fashioned from a thin strip of lead about 20 centimeters long, rolled into a compact size for carrying on one's person. Such objects were common among the Mandaean community, an ancient ethno-religious group still surviving in Mesopotamia today, distinguished by their cleansing rituals, resistance to witchcraft, and strict non-violence. Archaeologically, these amulets help clarify the spiritual values and cultural religious syncretism of ancient Mesopotamia. In addition to reflecting native religious beliefs, the text shows cross-cultural influences among Mesopotamian traditions, early Judaism, early Christianity, and Iranian beliefs. These exorcism amulets served not only as personal talismans, but also expressed the communal fear of invisible powers, providing researchers with valuable material for studying the linguistic, literary, and ritual history of this ancient land. The importance of these amulets lies not only in their historical value, but also in how they allow us to reconstruct aspects of spiritual life and the interaction between humans and the supernatural in Mesopotamian culture over thousands of years before the modern era. The lost relic of the Blackfoot tribe. Near a trail in a city park in Calgary, archaeologists have uncovered an ancient stone circle, one of the last remaining traces of a Blackfoot indigenous community that once lived here thousands of years ago. At first glance, the small stones scattered among the grass seem unremarkable, but in truth, they mark the foundations of traditional lodges that were once the center of life for a long-standing nomadic society on the North American plains. Through several surveys, a team from the University of Calgary collected numerous handcrafted artifacts, from stone tool fragments and seashells to materials used for making decorative beads. These findings confirm both the habitation and cultural practices of the Blackfoot people, and they also highlight the deep, enduring connection between humans and this natural landscape. Based on comparative archaeological evidence, this stone circle and similar sites in the region may have been used continuously from more than 8,000 years ago right up to a few centuries ago, before the land was taken over during the expansion of new communities. Despite all the upheavals of history, the traces left by these stone circles quietly preserve stories of daily life, beliefs, and the creativity of indigenous communities. Their existence is not only of archaeological importance, but also underscores the necessity of protecting the historical and cultural value of North America's first peoples, especially as these remnants are so often forgotten amid the bustle of modern cities. Thanks to ongoing discoveries and research efforts, the history and heritage of the Blackfoot people continue to be recognized and remembered within Canada's diverse contemporary culture. Personal belongings and the legacy of the ancients. Personal belongings and everyday artifacts recovered from shipwrecks and underwater sites offer a more intimate, tangible glimpse into the daily lives of people who lived amid the sweeping tides of history. A crocodile leather wallet found deep within the wreck of the Titanic, along with its owner's identification papers and purchase receipts, preserves even the smallest details of a woman's journey from Europe to America at the start of the 20th century. The almost perfectly intact condition of these papers in the cold seawater, protected by the dense leather, demonstrates the durability of organic materials when kept in oxygen-deprived, low-temperature environments, isolated from strong currents or decomposing microorganisms. Many other items have been found alongside ancient shipwrecks or coastal mass graves: clothing, personal effects, letters, documents, and handwritten books. Inside the holds of immigrant ships, relics might include simple jewelry, tea sets, letterboxes, or inventories of possessions brought for a new life in a distant land. Everyday items belonging to sailors, merchants, immigrants, or soldiers all bear the marks of habits, living conditions, economic status, personal hopes, and traces of journeys that would never be completed. These artifacts are more than just evidence of craftsmanship and material choices. They also reflect cultural interactions, migration trends, international trade, and the social and political upheavals that once accompanied each ship and voyage across the sea. The preservation of organic materials in deep water or seabed mud allows archaeologists and museum professionals direct access to living specimens from the past, fundamentally different from land-based relics that have often eroded, decomposed, or been repurposed over generations. Research into the conservation of such personal objects provides vital data on material selection, preservation techniques, usage contexts, and the social characteristics of different eras, forming a foundation for reconstructing everyday life through interdisciplinary studies in archaeology, history, anthropology, and heritage conservation. Every artifact recovered from the ocean floor not only tells its own story, but also speaks for a generation, a community people who once lived, migrated, worked, and left their mark on the unfolding history of humankind. Violations of ancient Jewish dietary law. For many years, archaeological finds at ancient Jewish sites have offered direct insights into the eating habits of the people of this land, revealing significant differences between religious law and daily life. When archaeologists analyzed fish bones collected from dozens of sites spanning from the late Bronze Age to the Byzantine era, they noticed a paradox. Among thousands of samples, a large number belonged to scaleless or finless fish types, strictly forbidden by kosher law, yet they consistently appeared for more than a millennium. This phenomenon clearly highlights the discrepancy between the laws prescribed in the Torah and the practical realities of ancient Jewish communities. The ban on eating fish without scales or fins was laid out in some of the earliest religious texts, yet archaeological evidence shows that only in the Roman period was this prohibition widely observed, as indicated by the near-total absence of non-kosher fish in later cultural layers. Why was there such a delay? On one hand, religious law in ancient Jewish society was not always absolute, especially in the face of limited food, resources, geography, and Mediterranean cultural exchange. On the other, the Roman Empire's dominance with its attendant changes in social order, economy, and religion forced Jewish communities to redefine their identity and strictly enforce rules as a means of preserving cultural and religious boundaries. This shift in dietary habits is a vivid example of how a community adapts its practices in response to historical change, and of how standardization of identity was achieved through compliance with sacred law. Studies of ancient fish bones reveal not just a detail of daily life, but also the interplay between religion, society, and environment where lived reality and religious doctrine constantly negotiated to coexist over the centuries. Rusty pirate sword. During the excavation of an ancient Christian monastery in northern Greece, archaeologists uncovered a medieval iron sword buried deep within the ruins of what was once a regional center of religion and commerce. Remarkably, the sword has retained much of its original shape, surviving centuries underground, largely due to the protective effect of surrounding soil and rock, which slowed the oxidation of the metal. Based on its shape and structure, the sword has been identified as a single-edged saber commonly used throughout the Mediterranean and Asia Minor in the 14th century. Such weapons were widespread among the Byzantine military, as well as among pirate bands and Turkish warriors invading the Balkans. The sword's presence at the monastery hints at a turbulent period in history when raids and violent conflict between religious and military forces were frequent along the borders of Europe and Asia. Beyond its value as a rare surviving artifact from an age of fierce warfare, the sword stands as living evidence of the contact, blending, and rivalry between two great civilizations, Christian Byzantium and Islamic Ottoman. The monastery where the sword was found was once a symbol of religious power and a frequent target for raids, revealing the complexity of political, cultural, and religious networks in the medieval borderlands. Aside from its archaeological importance, the restoration and study of the sword shed light on metallurgy, weapons manufacture, and the distinctive designs of military equipment in the Eastern Mediterranean, while also illuminating defensive strategies and daily life among religious communities in times of upheaval. This artifact directly attests to the constant adaptation, conflict, and synthesis of local communities and faiths along the Eurasian frontier over many centuries. The Mad Russian Historian and the Collection of Female Mummies. In modern history, few cases have been as disturbing or as challenging to the boundaries of social science as that of Anatoly Moskvin, a renowned historian from the city of Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. Before he was exposed, Anatoly was a linguistic expert, well-versed in the histories of the Volga region's peoples, who had surveyed over 700 cemeteries and published respected studies on funeral culture. Yet, behind this scholarly reputation lay a secret that defied all ethical and rational norms. The case began when local authorities investigated the widespread disturbance of children's and women's graves in the region's cemeteries. The clues eventually led to Anatoly Moskvin's apartment, where police discovered 29 meticulously preserved, mummified bodies, dressed in colorful gowns, wearing hats and shoes, and each given a unique name like living dolls. Each mummy was the result of a homemade embalming process, using salt and baking soda, then covered with cloth and wax to mold the face, fitted with glass eyes and wigs, and adorned with trinkets taken from cemeteries or thrift shops. Anatoly kept detailed biographies for each doll, created personal diaries for them, and even celebrated birthdays, conversing with the mummies as if they were family. The investigation revealed the irrational motives behind Anatoly's actions. From the perspective of neuroscience and criminal psychology, his behavior was not driven by typical criminal intent, but by an obsession with death, a lifelong loneliness, and a warped belief in rescuing souls from the isolation of cold graves. Anatoly's records show that he saw himself as a guardian, preserving the memories of unfortunate children rather than a criminal. The Russian media and public were shocked not only by the scale of the mummy collection, but also by the questions it raised about the limits of historical research and pathological obsession. Where is the ultimate boundary of science when it breaches basic moral principles? Can knowledge, when left unchecked by societal conscience, become a threat to the community itself? The case of Anatoly Moskvin has become a textbook example of the impact of mental disorders on human behavior, forcing psychologists, criminologists, and heritage managers to reevaluate the distinction between scholarly research and personal deviance. Though once a respected academic, Anatoly crossed the threshold of ethics, leaving a profound question about the fragility between intellect and the darkness of uncontrollable obsession in the history of humankind. The forgotten civilization of Venezuela. Mount Roraima and Guima National Park in Venezuela are regarded as some of the most mysterious lands in South America, where the unique natural landscape has helped preserve the remnants of a civilization that today is almost completely unknown. The summit of Roraima, rising nearly 3,000 meters, is defined by sheer cliffs and a flat, cloud-shrouded plateau, forming a table of the gods veiled in mist all year round. The isolation of this terrain has created a time capsule, preserving layers of natural and human history nearly intact over thousands of years. Researchers have discovered a total of 20 rock art sites on the slopes and in the caves around Roraima. The paintings depict human figures in various postures, intricate geometric patterns, and symbols associated with astronomy such as stars, constellations, and cosmic events. These works reflect the development of abstract thought, social organization, spiritual beliefs, and the acute powers of observation possessed by the people who once lived here. Some images even bear a resemblance to rock art in Brazil and other areas of the Amazon, raising the possibility of prehistoric migration and cultural exchange across South America. Radiocarbon dating indicates that the artifacts and paintings at Roraima are about 4,000 years old. This not only confirms the existence of an organized community, but also suggests that these indigenous groups expanded their territory, migrating out of the isolated mountains to help shape new cultures along the great rivers of today's Amazon basin. This helps explain why traces of similar cultural, artistic, and spiritual elements are found across various sites in modern South America. The discovery of this rock art system not only adds to the map of prehistoric South American civilizations, but also provides scientists with a deeper understanding of adaptation, social organization, artistic skill, and the expansion journeys of ancient communities in harsh, diverse environments. This work helps promote awareness of the need to preserve both tangible and intangible cultural heritage, which are increasingly threatened by modernization and environmental change. Stone Circle in Mexico. In a small village deep in rural Mexico, a surprising discovery has captured the attention of both archaeologists and local residents. While working his field, a farmer happened to notice stones poking out from beneath the thick vegetation. Once the plants were cleared away, an unusual stone circle emerged, its structure unlike anything ever recorded in the area. The appearance of the stone circle quickly fueled rumors in the village. Some believed it was a sacred site where shamans or healers performed ceremonies to bless the sick, conduct healing rituals, or offer gifts in hopes of protection from supernatural forces. According to local law, the ill would be brought here to undergo rituals in hopes of finding relief or peace. These stories not only reflect the area's folk beliefs, but also fuel curiosity about the true purpose of this ancient structure. Alongside these mythic tales, there are more mysterious rumors. Some elders recall a priest discovering similar stone structures nearby, but possibly for religious or political reasons, he ordered their destruction to hide historic secrets or to suppress the survival of indigenous spiritual practices alongside the newly introduced faith. This phenomenon recalls the period of cultural conflict following the Spanish conquest, when many old temples were destroyed and their stones reused to build new churches. As news of the stone circle spread, archaeologists from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History quickly dispatched a team to the site. Initial excavation and study showed that the site was not just a simple stone ring. The entire complex was mainly built of adobe bricks, a material typical of ancient Mesoamerican cultures combined with a stone staircase leading upward. Traces of architecture suggest that it may have once been surrounded or protected by a larger structure, perhaps a great tower built atop a smaller inner tower. In the soil near the circle, researchers discovered many pieces of obsidian, a volcanic stone once used for tools and weapons in prehistoric times. Yet so far, the scientific community has been unable to determine the exact age or specific function of the structure. The total disappearance of related evidence and the absence of written records have made it difficult to establish the site's origins. The mysterious stone circle in this small Mexican village remains an unanswered question, inviting speculation about the beliefs, rituals, and spiritual lives of the ancient community that once lived here. Each new discovery at this site not only completes the historical picture of Mesoamerica, but also raises questions about the relationships between ancient architecture, local folklore, and the intersection of religious traditions throughout humanity's development. The missing medium-sized dinosaurs. In paleontology, one of the long-standing debates is why fossils of medium-sized predatory dinosaurs are so rarely found in Cretaceous strata and many earlier periods. Recently, researchers have undertaken a comprehensive analysis of global paleontological databases, cataloging the diversity of ancient ecosystems. The findings reveal that in many locations, especially those with giant carnivorous dinosaurs, there is a near-total absence of medium-sized predators. This scarcity is not simply due to gaps in fossil discovery, but rather reflects the unique structure of prehistoric animal communities. The research suggests that juvenile individuals of giant predatory dinosaurs, before they reached full size, likely occupied the ecological niche typically held by medium-sized species. They competed for food with smaller dinosaurs and outcompeted any medium-sized rivals, preventing those groups from surviving long-term or evolving into independent lineages. Some scholars also point to possible fossilization bias, as preservation conditions vary across regions and geological eras. Others note that the number of fossils excavated and studied remains limited, meaning the hypothesis about the actual absence of medium-sized carnivorous dinosaurs still requires further evidence. Although debates continue, this research clarifies the structure of prehistoric ecosystems, showing how survival, competition, and size dynamics shaped the real diversity of meat-eating dinosaurs on Earth. At the same time, it opens new perspectives for explaining the mysterious gaps in the evolutionary record of ancient life. If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, leave your thoughts below and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next discoveries. We'll see you in the next video.